There's a story about a hungry cat that did something really surprising. This cat went to a store with a leaf in its mouth and wanted to buy fish. Then the store owner did something that you won't believe. Joe, the owner of the store, knew most of the people who came to his shop, but when a strange customer came in with a leaf in its mouth, Joe was really surprised. Most of the customers had been buying fish from his family for a long time, but there was this special cat that visited every day. It would sit by the window and sometimes even come inside. The first time the cat came inside, a customer chased it away. But the cat kept coming back. Even though it would leave when someone got close, it seemed happy just watching people. Joe didn't know why, but the cat didn't bother anyone and never tried to take any fish. So Joe just let it do its thing. Joe really liked animals, especially cats. So when a cat visited his shop, he was happy. But what happened next was even more special. One day, the cat came in with a leaf in its mouth. This time, it jumped up on the counter and put the leaf there. Then it waited, looking expectant. At first, Joe was busy with customers, but then he realized something amazing. You won't believe what Joe did next. It's really surprising. Joe figured out that the cat brought the leaf for a good reason. The cat must have seen that customers gave something and got fish in return. A leaf or money, is there a big difference? Not for the cat, it seemed. Joe had two choices. He could treat the cat like a customer, or he could make it leave. What he decided to do was pretty surprising. Joe thought that he shouldn't turn any customer away, even if they were paying with a leaf. So he gave the cat a nice piece of fish, and the cat quickly grabbed it and ran away. Joe just hoped other customers wouldn't start paying with leaves too. But once the cat realized it could get fish with a leaf, it came back every day. It would bring a leaf and get a small fish or a piece of fish for its dinner. They started calling the cat Sushi, and everyone got attached to it. They even put out fresh water for the cat. People who visited the shop and the workers there all knew the cat and liked having it around. Joe got used to keeping a little bit of fish for his new cat friend. But one day, a small fish would bring him a lot of worry. On a really busy day, lots of customers came and went. Even though everyone was used to seeing the cat, they didn't notice it coming in. When the day was almost over, Joe was closing the shop. He realized that the small fish he had set aside for the cat was still there, untouched. Joe wondered why the cat hadn't shown up. He had been working since early morning and he was really tired, but he was more worried about the cat than his own tiredness. He couldn't relax until he knew the cat was okay, but where should he start looking? He checked around the shop and even searched in the park across the road. Then he got into his car and drove around the neighborhood. The cat couldn't be far since it came every day. If Joe could just see it running around, then he could relax and go home. But something different happened. As he turned a corner, he saw something on the side of the road. It was the tabby cat he recognized. But the cat wasn't moving. It was curled up and looked really small. Joe pulled over and got out. He saw that it was indeed Sushi, but Sushi's side was bloody. Joe's heart skipped a beat. He was scared to check if the cat was breathing. Then Sushi turned his head and looked at Joe. His eyes seemed to be asking for help. Sushi used to be lively and mischievous in Joe's eyes, but now his eyes were full of pain. It seemed like a car had hit him, and he had just managed to crawl out of the road. Sushi looked really bad. Joe picked him up and held him in his jacket, carrying him back to the car. He searched online and found a vet in the next town. When he called, he got their voicemail. They were closed. Joe felt really sad and frustrated. He didn't know what to do to help his friend, Sushi. Then, the voicemail message mentioned an after-hours emergency service. There was hope after all. Joe drove to the town as fast as he could. He was worried that there might be traffic that would slow him down. Sushi's breathing was not good, and that made Joe really anxious. He didn't know if he would get there in time. When he arrived at the vet's office, he felt so relieved to see other people. They took Sushi from him and looked at his injuries. The poor cat must have been in a lot of pain. He had a big cut and had lost a lot of blood. He also had a few broken ribs, and one of them had punctured his lung. That's why he was breathing so hard. The vet had to do surgery right away to help him. Sushi survived the surgery, but he was still in bad shape. The vet told Joe to go home and see if Sushi would make it through the night. There were no guarantees. The cat was really sick. The next day, Joe had to open his shop first, and then he left his employee in charge to go find out how Sushi was doing. The vet and Joe went to a special room in the back. There was Sushi, still alive but needing oxygen, and with tubes connected to him. He looked sad, but at least he was alive. They were a bit more hopeful than they were the previous night. For some days, it was uncertain whether Sushi would get better, but eventually, they removed the oxygen, and he started to improve. He even got excited when Joe visited him. It was really nice to see. When they told Joe that Sushi could eat solid food again, he brought something special for him. Small pieces of fish cut into little bites that Sushi could eat. It made Joe happy to see how much Sushi enjoyed the fish. Finally, The day came when Sushi was well enough to leave the vet's office. But there was a problem. He didn't have a home. They checked, and Sushi didn't have a microchip. They tried to find his family, but no one came forward. This meant that Sushi had nowhere to go. They didn't want to let him go back to the streets, so they planned to take him to a shelter. But something really heartwarming happened. On the day Sushi was supposed to go to the shelter, Joe arrived to get him. He didn't want Sushi to go to a shelter. Instead, Joe decided to adopt Sushi and take him home. He set up a special area for Sushi with things like a scratching post, a comfy bed, and a litter box. But the best part was that Joe got Sushi a bunch of cat toys to play with. But Sushi had two toys that he loved the most. One was a soft, squeaky fish, and the other was a soft leaf. After that, Sushi had a happy home with Joe, and he always had plenty of fish to eat. He didn't need to pay for them, and sometimes he got to spend time with his friends at the fish shop before going back to his cozy bed at home. The customer had become part of the family. Little did they know, a surprise was waiting just around the corner. One day, while Joe was playing with Sushi and his favorite toys, a letter arrived at the shop. It was a mysterious letter with no return address. Joe opened it and read the contents with wide eyes. It was a message from someone who claimed to be Sushi's previous owner. The letter explained that Sushi had gone missing several months ago, and they had been searching for him ever since. They had been heartbroken when they couldn't find him. The person said they had recently heard about Sushi's story on the news and realized that their beloved cat was safe and loved with Joe. Joe was shocked. He never expected to hear from Sushi's previous owner. He wondered if they would want Sushi back, or if they were just happy to know he was okay. Joe knew he needed to make a decision, but it was a tough one. He had grown attached to Sushi, and he couldn't imagine letting him go after everything they had been through. As Joe pondered what to do, he looked over at Sushi happily playing with his toys. He realized that Sushi had become an important part of his life, and he didn't want to say goodbye. But he also understood that Sushi had a past and a family who cared about him. The decision weighed heavily on Joe's mind. He wondered if he should reach out to Sushi's previous owner and have a conversation. What would be best for Sushi? And how would this unexpected twist in their story change their lives forever?